Hey, what's going on YouTube? So today I am going to be talking about the movie that started it all in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movie that we all love, I'm pretty sure, Iron Man, which came out in 2008. I first saw this movie on my birthday in 2008. I did not know much about Iron Man at that time. I knew he was Avenger. I knew he was an Avenger. I knew that he was a big deal in the Marvel Universe, but I didn't know much about him. And I can just be completely honest with you guys. This movie is awesome. If you have never seen Iron Man, please rewatch this movie. It's on Disney Plus. Buy it on Blu-ray. This to me is still 12 years later one of the best movies in the MCU. And comparing it to the big Avengers movies, the big Infinity War, Endgame, the Guardians of the Galaxies, the Captain America Civil Wars, the Thor Ragnaroks, this movie is still, even though it's fairly grounded, this movie still stands up to me as one of the best movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is clear to me that when they created this movie, there was like lightning in a bottle. Like they knew what they were doing, they knew what they were going for, they knew what they were building to, and this movie just stands the test of time. 12 years later, as I said, still in my opinion, probably one of the best superhero movies. Definitely one of the best in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And guys, before I start talking about this movie, I just want to put out a couple of announcements. So going forward for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie on Mondays. So this series is going to be called Marvel Movie Mondays. Every Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about the Halloween franchise. I put out a video about the first Halloween movie, how I first, got into it, what I think about it. So every Wednesday for the next couple of weeks, you guys look forward to Halloween Wednesdays. And every Friday, I put out my first video on Friday the 13th Part 1, which was originally released in 1980. So every Friday, guys, look forward to Friday the 13th Fridays. So Mondays, Marvel Movie Mondays, Wednesday, Halloween Wednesdays, and Friday the 13th Fridays. So I just want to say thank you to all the people who have subscribed to my channel. I'm not, booming on YouTube just yet. But I want to say thank you to the people who took time to watch my videos, whether you guys watched it from start to finish or you guys, didn't watch the whole video. I just want to say thank you to you guys for just tuning in. I just figure with everything going on in the world, this is the perfect time to put out, my reviews and content. So you guys, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. All the subscriptions, the comments, everything, it helps the channel. I want to continue to put out this content. I'm very passionate about putting out videos for my subscribers, and hopefully it evolves into something, much bigger. So pretty much, you guys, I'm going to be talking about Iron Man, which was originally released in 2008, starring Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, and Terrence Howard. This movie is awesome. Like I said, it stands the test of time. 12 years later, this is still, to me, one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And what really, I think, I rewatched this movie yesterday for the first time in a while, and what really made this movie so good to me is to know about the Avengers Infinity Wars and the Endgames and all those big crossover movies that we all go nuts about, but to rewatch this movie and see that it's so grounded compared to those movies. And I remember seeing this movie the day it came out on my birthday in 2008 and thinking like, man, we had never seen anything like this. So just, hindsight is 2020, to come back full circle and to see it, and it's still as important, as iconic as it was in 2008, but to compare it against the bigger movies, the bigger budget movies, it still stands up, you guys. It's still a good time. It's still a good movie at its core. So pretty much this movie picks up in, at the time, modern day Tony Stark as an arrogant, egotistical weapons manufacturer, the head of Stark Industries, the company that his father built and left to him after he passed away. And Tony Stark is, an arrogant person. I wouldn't say an evil guy. I wouldn't say a bad guy, but pretty self-centered, spoiled. He has all billions, all the billions of dollars and all that good stuff. And this character, Tony Stark, early on in the movie, gets ambushed in a convoy attack. And what we learn later is that he gets kidnapped by the Ten Rings organization. For those of us like me, and I'm pretty sure so many other people who adore Iron Man, who have read the comics, the Ten Rings is an organization that is led by arch enemy of Iron Man, and that is the Mandarin. In this film, the Mandarin isn't present, obviously, but I like what they went for with the Ten Rings, giving us a little bit of fan service, throwing them in the movie. So they kidnapped Tony Stark, and what we discover is that the reason they kidnapped Tony is because he was in the Middle East to present a weapon, which was the Jericho missile, and the Ten Rings takes an interest in this, and they kidnap him, and they want him to create the Jericho missile for them to use for their own purposes and all those good things. And Tony Stark meets Ho Yinsen. Ho Yinsen basically becomes like a mentor type character to Tony. He actually saves Tony's life because when Tony gets ambushed, shrapnel actually enters into his heart, and Ho Yinsen, with his quick thinking and helping Tony out, he actually prevents the shrapnel from entering Tony's heart and killing him. And Tony is basically plugged up to a car battery, which acts as an electromagnet, which, as I said, stops the shrapnel from entering his heart and killing him. So Tony soon discovers that the Ten Rings wants him to create this Jericho and to pretty much be their engineer and do whatever they want him to do. So fairly early, Ho Yinsen tells Stark, is this how do you want to go out? Because they're both, have accepted the fact that they're probably going to die. They're probably not going to make it out of this alive. And Tony decides to, instead of building the Jericho missile, he decides to build a weapon to help him and Yinsen escape, which would become the Iron Man Mark I armor, which would be the first armor that Tony ever created. And he creates the suit. He miniaturizes the arc reactor, which is a power source that powers Stark Industries, and he uses it to basically power the Iron Man Mark I armor. And when the day comes and they build the Iron Man Mark I armor, they pretty much have to escape. And for whatever reason, they don't have enough time, and Yinsen basically has to sacrifice himself to build more time for Stark to get out, basically. And what we soon discover is that Yinsen's family was killed by the Ten Rings. And when he sacrifices his life, and Tony's really sad. He's telling him like, hey, we got to stick to the plan. We got to both get out of here. And Yinsen tells him, my family is dead, and this was always the plan. And don't waste your life. And Tony basically takes on the Ten Rings. He doesn't destroy them, but he dismantles a lot of them. Gets free, is able to power the suit long enough to get far enough to fly, to get away. And he's found by one of his best friends, James Rhodes, which we know as Rhodey, will later become War Machine. So Tony basically gets back to the United States. He's safe. He calls for a press conference at Stark Industries. And he basically, after seeing everything that he's gone through, getting kidnapped, seeing young Air Force members killed by the weapons that he created to protect, the United States and the military, he has a change of heart and he decides, hey, I'm not going to produce weapons anymore. I'm going to do something that protects people. My legacy is not going to be, bloodthirsty. I'm not going to create this legacy that only destroys. He basically takes accountability of his actions and realized that there's a lot of things going on wrong in the world because of the weapons that he created, even if they were well-intentioned. So pretty much Tony decides that, hey, he's going to figure out a way to help, figure out a way to get back the weapons that, the Ten Rings and other organizations stole and used to terrorize, the United States and people around the world. So he creates the Mark II armor, and he's able to test it. He's able to fly. He's able to, fire repulsors and do all of these things. Definitely some crazy things that happen with that, crashing, getting hurt, setbacks, but he's able to accomplish what he sets out to do. So he decides to create the Mark III armor, and we pretty much learned that Obadiah Stane, who's also like a mentor to Tony, was a good friend of his dad's, put the hit out on Tony. He's the reason why Tony got kidnapped in the Middle East. He's the reason why Tony almost got killed. He's the reason for why everything that happened to Tony while he was in the Middle East happens. And this is discovered by Pepper Potts, who's Tony's personal secretary, later love interest. And Stane discovers that he's been made, that, Pepper found out that he put a hit out on Tony, so he decides that he's going to take out Tony, take out Pepper, do what he can to hold on to the power and the money of Stark Industries. We're introduced to S.H.I.E.L.D. through Agent Coulson, Phil Coulson, who is, we later find out in the Avengers and Thor, and he's pretty much under Nick Fury. And, so Stane decides that he's going to steal. Oh, so before I get to that part, the company has filed an injunction against Tony. They think he's crazy because he's decided not to produce weapons. He wants to go with clean energy and these other things. He doesn't want to be a weapons manufacturer anymore. And we find out that Stane was the one who filed the injunction. He's basically the one behind the scenes, pulling strings, trying to, ruin Tony, trying to get rid of Tony. The pain in his neck for him to run the company. And Stane pretty much steals the arc reactor from the miniaturized arc reactor that's powering Tony's heart, keeping the shrapnel from entering into his heart. He steals the arc reactor from Tony and decides that he's pretty much going to get rid of him, leaves him for dead. And fortunately for us, Pepper was able to call Rhodey, who was able to go over to Tony's house and pretty much, stop him from dying, giving him the first arc reactor, miniaturized arc reactor that he had created while he was gone, and Pepper had put had inscribed on the first miniaturized arc reactor proof that Tony Stark has a heart. It was a gift to Tony, which in Avengers Endgame, not going to spoil it here, but we find out, has some significant meaning. So Tony decides he's going to go after Rhodey. He's going to try to save Pepper, save the company. So he pretty much takes on Obadiah. They have this big showdown. Obadiah has this big Ironmonger suit, which is this big, massive Iron Man type suit that's way more powerful than Tony's suit. Tony goes head to head with him, and we get to our final showdown. And Tony has Pepper overload the giant arc reactor, which is powering the Stark Industries facility, which kills Obadiah, and Tony's able to survive. And we fast forward just a little bit. Agent Phil Coulson basically comes up with an alibi for Tony to basically protect Tony's identity as Iron Man, keep him safe. The press and the newspaper have coined him as Iron Man. And basically we get to this press conference where Tony is basically pondering on the idea of whether to, speak about whether, confess that he is Iron Man or stick to the cards and the alibi that Phil Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D. have come up with for him. So basically Tony decides to reveal that he's Iron Man with the lines, "I am Iron Man," which also is something that pays off later in Avengers Endgame. And Tony confesses to being Iron Man, and the movie cuts to credits right there, and we see a post-credit scene of Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., who basically comes to Stark and tells him that we're putting a team together, which is so awesome, you guys, because it later basically pays off in the first Avengers movie, which is released in 2012. Awesome. And this is just, it's awesome, you guys. I love this movie because there's some fan service, there's some payoff moments that pay off in Avengers Endgame. The very first Avengers movie pays off in Iron Man 2. And this movie on my 5-tier rank system is awesome. Hands down, it's awesome. I have little nitpicks. My only nitpick with this movie is the fact that Obadiah Stane as the big bad is so disposable. There's superhero movies and even action movies where, the villains are disposable and it works and it doesn't take away from the movie. I think with this movie, it takes away from it just a little bit because it just seems so disposable. It seems like, I would have liked to see a little bit more build with the Obadiah Stane character because Obadiah Stane is such a rival of Tony Stark in the comic books, like a Justin Hammer. And that's my only nitpick with this movie. Everything else is awesome. The casting of Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, Terrence Howard as Colonel James Rhodes, the Jarvis AI, everything, the side characters, the story, everything about this movie is awesome. It's awesome to see Tony Stark go from this really arrogant guy to this guy who's ultimately trying to do the right thing, even if it's not by everybody else's standards. And this is the movie that births the MCU. It leads into the Incredible Hulk, which I'll talk about next Monday, you guys. This movie is great. If you guys have never seen Iron Man, or it's been a little while since you've seen Iron Man, we've been on this big galactic journey with Thanos, the big bads of the MCU. We're waiting on Phase 4. If it's been a while or you've never seen Iron Man 1, just check it out, you guys. This movie is awesome. Still, in my opinion, hangs up there with the big dogs in the MCU. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for checking out this video. I hope you guys like the content that I put out. Look forward to Marvel Movie Mondays coming up every Monday for the next couple weeks. Halloween Wednesdays. Next Wednesday, This Wednesday, I'll be talking about Halloween 2, 1981, which is a companion piece to the original Halloween released in 1978. And on Friday, you guys, I'll be talking about Friday the 13th Part 2, which also is kind of like a companion piece to Friday the 13th Part 1. It gives us Jason Voorhees as the villain, the big bad that becomes, the Jason Voorhees we know and we love, the hockey mask wielding Jason that we love so much. So you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Reach out to me on YouTube, on Instagram. I'll link my YouTube and Instagram to this video. Please, you guys, every like, every comment, every share, it's very much appreciated. I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for watching this video. You guys are awesome. Thanks for checking out this content, and I'll catch you guys again on Wednesday when I talk about Halloween Part 2 released in 1981. Thanks, you guys. You guys are awesome.